That key question this morning, just how dangerous those 5 Taliban members really are. Men back in Qatar, as we've been saying this morning, and ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Brian Ross, is here with more details on that.
Well, good morning, Robin. All 5 of the men were once considered senior members of the Taliban, and this morning, the terror group is calling their release a major victory. New video posted this morning on an Afghan news website shows the 5 former detainees arriving in Qatar with no sign they were under any sort of custody or guard.
The key question remains the release. How does that affect, or does it affect, our national security?
Well, at one point, all 5 men were described as too dangerous to be set free. And of most concern to counter-terror experts is the former Deputy Defense Minister for the Taliban, Mullah Mohammad Fazl, who, according to a U.S. assessment made 6 years ago and made public by WikiLeaks, had a high risk for the U.S. and its allies and was likely to rejoin the Taliban in fighting.
Members of the North Texas chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, are calling for the resignation of a Keller ISD trustee. They held a news conference just about an hour ago. This move comes after Jolynn Hausman posted an anti-Muslim remark on her Facebook page.
Parents in Keller are shocked.
It's definitely discouraging.
It's kind of sad to know that in this day and age that's still happening.
Their frustration is fueled by this Facebook post from newly elected school trustee Jolynn Hausman.
They say this is also not the first time she's made hateful comments online.
Well, public schools are supposed to be forums for open dialogue, but one Woodbury student says the internet at his school is only open to one side.
Page.
Townhall.com.
After page.
National Right to Life.
Woodbury student Andrew Lampart showed us screenshots of the internet taken from within Nonawag High School. Many of so-called political or advocacy websites blocked by the school's firewall. Then, for abortion issues, National Right to Life website,
blocked at the high school.
Planned Parenthood and Pro-Choice America
are both unblocked.
Lampart even says he found Christian sites blocked, including the website for the Vatican.
However, Islamguide.com, obviously a Islamic-based text website, is unblocked.
He claims he informed Woodbury's superintendent of his discovery, but after a week, nothing was done.
A Webster man says his apartment manager told him his American flag was a threat to the Muslim community and that he has to take it down.
Stepping onto Dewey Tran's balcony in Webster, one thing is clear.
It means a lot to me.
He's talking about his American flag that he proudly put up when he moved in just a few days ago. But then an apartment manager here at the lodge on El Dorado told him he had to take it down.
What really stunned me is that she said it's a threat towards the Muslim community.
We're getting a closer look at the terrorism raid that led to the arrest of 2 Central Texas men.
The FBI says those men were planning for a jihad abroad.
Some neighbors are finding out that someone who lived just next door may have connections to terrorism. Now here's a look at the scene out here yesterday. Members of the FBI are wearing tactical gear. Some wore shirts showing they were part of an FBI evidence response team, and a SWAT truck also parked out here. Now KXAN obtained these pictures from a source who wanted to remain anonymous. Court documents show this is the family home of a 23-year-old UT student. Investigators say Rahato Khan conspired to recruit people. One of them was an FBI source. Back in Round Rock, a neighbor said he didn't notice anything strange.
And we just recently moved into this neighborhood back in October, and all the neighbors seemed friendly and nice. Never heard anything, saw anything out of the ordinary coming from the folks across the street or anything like that.
San Diego Craigslist ads searches for surveillance role players. And the crisis actors and so forth that you hear so much about. San Diego Craigslist ads searches for surveillance role players. Qualified personnel should demonstrate an established track record of conducting surveillance operations at various discretion levels, supporting surveillance training and military practice exercise training. Individuals with previous military, intelligence, community, and law enforcement experience are highly preferred.
So who are the fighters of ISIS? They're a Sunni Muslim jihadist group, an offshoot of Al-Qaeda, formed a year ago and pledging to create an Islamic State across Iraq, Syria and neighboring countries. They have strongholds in significant parts of northern Syria too, but their ambitions go far wider, to create a Muslim caliphate, a single Islamic state, to include not just Jordan and the Palestinian territories, but Israel too, and much of North Africa.
Good evening. Over a decade after the American invasion, after all the blood and treasure spent on the battlefield, the billions of dollars spent on training and armaments, tonight a heavily armed fighting force, in some cases using American arms and vehicles, is making lightning speed from city to city across the Iraqi countryside, and a big part of that country has fallen to their control. They are known as ISIS, standing for the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria.
Some American veterans might be able to recognize their old Humvees, given to the Iraqi army. Some now shattered, burned, others taken over by Islamic militants, a splinter group of Al-Qaeda called ISIS, the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. The goal, the militants said today, to impose strict Islamic Sharia law, not just in Iraq, but in Syria and beyond. They're led by Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, a militant. U.S. troops in Iraq, was in U.S. custody for years. Many say he's the true heir to Osama bin Laden.
Growing concern that the terror tirade in Iraq will soon be coming here to the United States.
The seeds of 9/11s are being planted all over Iraq and Syria. You don't have to believe me. This is what they're telling you they're going to do.
I am concerned, and I think all Americans should be concerned.
I guarantee you this is a problem that we will have to face. And we're either going to face it in New York City or we're going to face it here.
I was on the flight with when we transferred him north to Baghdad for final transfer to the Iraqis. When we handed him off, he knew we were from New York, and he knew he was going to get out, in my mind, because as he left, he told me and the soldiers that were around me, "I'll see you in New York."
Who is he?
And that's the fear coming to a city, including New York, as a result of what they're doing. Our last message is to the Americans. Soon we will be in direct confrontation, and the sons of Islam have prepared for such a day. So watch, for we are with you watching.
The best way to describe what the Obama administration is considering with Iran might be the old proverb, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend."
And Kerry made clear to Yahoo News one option on the table for tamping down the crisis in Iraq is some kind of partnership with Iran, despite the fact his own State Department recently again classified Iran as a state sponsor of terror.
Pope Francis is jumping into the Mideast peace process. He hosted a prayer summit Sunday in Vatican City with Israeli President Shimon Peres and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas.
The unprecedented ceremony of three religions praying inside the headquarters of the world's 1.2 billion Roman Catholics was billed as a pause for peace. Jewish, Christian, and Muslim prayers in Hebrew, English, Arabic, and Italian. Not even the participants expect anything concrete to come out of it all. But in a protracted and convoluted world of Middle East peacemaking, gestures and symbolism have led to change, however small.
You may have seen them on DC buses, controversial ads, a campaign promoting hatred between Muslims and Jews. Today, a group of faith leaders held a news conference condemning those ads and rolling out a campaign of their own.
Religious leaders say because of those ads, Muslims have been yelled at and disrespected. Now they're getting their own message out, this one of unity. Nahad Awad is Executive Director of Council on American Islamic Relations, or CARE.
We believe our message is the right message, the one that America believes in, the one that our faiths call for, which is coexistence, living, working together, and respecting one another.
CARE's new ad campaign is a direct response to one featuring the face of Hitler plastered on DC Metro buses last month, as leaders from several faiths, several backgrounds unite as one.
I have a question regarding the water shortages in Syria emanating from the blocking of running of water from Euphrates River in Turkey. In Aleppo, we see in the opposition groups, including Al-Qaeda, of course, blocking water for 2.5 million people. And now we see Turkey, which is considered a friend of Syria, behaving like an enemy by cutting the water from Euphrates.
With all of this public knowledge, Barack Obama brought this man to the White House, where he doesn't thank the United States for bringing his son home, but quoting from the Quran, speaking in Arabic, thanks Allah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Zayabayem. I'm your father, Bo. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Zayabayem. I'm your father, Bo.
Bismillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. الحمد لله الذي رزقنا أن نهاجر في سبيل الله وننضم في هذه الدولة الإسلامية، دولة إسلامية في العراق والشام، ونحمد الله الذي رزقنا وجمعنا مع هؤلاء نسود دولة الإسلام في كل مكان. والله العظيم لنطهر الجزيرة منكم يا أيها الأنجاز، ونفتح البيت المقدس منكم يا أيها اليهود، ونفتح روما كالنحن كالبني إسحاق، فنفتح روما والأندلس بإذن الله.
Brutal, well organized, and well financed. The Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, also known as ISIS, has rapidly morphed into the world's most dangerous jihadist organization. Its methods so extreme, Al-Qaeda itself has disavowed any relationship with it. And with each city it conquers, it seems its power and influence grows.
This is President Obama's real legacy. The creation of the first jihadi state in modern history, stretching from central Syria to central Iraq. This is shaping up to be the biggest Arab jihadi victory since the 12th century, 1187.
The tide of war is receding. Core Al-Qaeda is on its heels, has been decimated. The world is less violent than it has ever been.
The truth? There has been a 60% increase in radical Islamist terrorism since you've been in office. And you just keep letting these guys out, like the Bergdahl trade and the 5 terrorists. There have been reports that say ISIS was trained by U.S. instructors at a secret base in Jordan. Why are they so angry with us?
Well, they want to re-establish the caliphate. They are operating with a goal, and that goal is to establish an Islamic caliphate worldwide. In their book, we are infidels and we need to be dominated. So their plan is not just for the Middle East. Their plan is a worldwide caliphate, and they are consolidating sources across the world.
All right, so this isn't a question of establishing, sometimes we hear about the ark, from Syria and Western Iraq and that ark. We're talking about a caliphate all over the world, not just in the Middle East. Is that correct? Do both of you agree with that? Eric?
Absolutely. Judge, that's the ultimate goal, is a worldwide global caliphate. It sounds crazy to a lot of people listening, but this is what they want. This is what they want, and they won't stop. It starts in Iraq and Syria, then it expands. That's the ultimate goal, global domination. They make that clear.
Iraq's second largest city, Mosul, is now in the hands of the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. ISIS, as it's known, now controls a vast stretch of territory from western Syria to central Iraq. The shockwaves of the ISIS blitzkrieg have reached Israel, ironically today one of the quietest corners of the Middle East. ISIS and its allies are now flush with U.S.-supplied weapons and ammunition abandoned by Iraqi troops. Former Chief Israeli Army Intelligence Analyst Jacques Neria sees the upheaval in Iraq as an opportunity to prepare for perilous times ahead.